Someday you may find yourself in a critical, life-threatening situation. If you have signed a document called an advanced directive against life support or tubes, you may find yourself in the emergency department left to expire. I'm Dr. Laura Moyer, and I'm chair-elect of the American College of Emergency Physicians, Geriatrics Section, along with Dr. Mark Rosenthal from New Jersey, who started one of the first geriatric emergency departments in the nation. Let me tell you some anecdotes. I was working in the emergency department and I received a patient in respiratory distress. The man was in respiratory failure, he was having trouble breathing. I instilled a breathing tube or intubation tube into his throat, into his airway, to maintain an airway for him in order to breathe. I received a call from his private physician threatening me with assault and battery should I fail to remove this breathing tube for this man immediately. Why? Because he had signed an advance directive against any kind of sustaining tube or life support. I must tell you that it was a very sad expression on this man's face as I took the breathing tube out of his throat and he expired in front of my eyes. I generally like to wait until family arrives and actually have family into the emergency department as I do a resuscitation. That way the family can say final words to their loved ones if necessary, if they fail to survive. I think that we should all think about implementing these kinds of decisions into our advanced directives, as it seems that perhaps these may become mandatory in our end-of-life decisions. Another patient watched her mother slowly dehydrate and starve to death because she had signed an advance directive against intravenous tubes or feeding tubes. One patient of mine was in a critical car accident and found himself awakening after perhaps a week or two on life support. He had a tube in his throat that was ventilating him and bringing him air and oxygenating him, but he had full awareness of his surroundings. He could hear the doctors and nurses around him literally pulling the plug on patients around him that had advanced directives against tubes. He was terrified that he would be next. What are tubes? In emergency medicine, we are taught the ABCs. A is for airway. If you have your airway blocked off, you have maximum maybe 2 to 3 minutes before your brain starts having anoxic brain damage without oxygen. Maybe 8 minutes, you may survive 8 minutes. Maybe longer. There's new interventions called hypothermia, where ice is being packed on people as they are resuscitated, because from studies of near drowning, people have lived longer in cold and been able to resuscitate sooner from cold environments. B is for breathing. Even if you have an airway open, if your lungs are failing to move the air, you need the air to be moved and circulated in order to bring the oxygen in and carbon dioxide out. So the second most important thing to survival in a life-threatening, life support situation is to allow air to go in and out of your lungs. This can be done mechanically, it can be done by hand in a bag, while stabilizing and placing you on a ventilator, which will assist you in breathing. C is for circulation. If your heart stops and fails to circulate the oxygenated blood, same thing. 2 to 3 minutes on the outside, 8 minutes, you're starting to get irreparable brain damage unless you have low temperature resuscitation. Immediate defibrillation, electric shock. So let's go on, and what are tubes? I'd like to show you your options for tubes. This is what is called an intubation tube. If you are in a life-threatening situation, I would take this breathing tube when you're unconscious, and I would put it into your airway, into your lungs, blow up this little balloon to seal off. And this would do two things. It would maintain an open airway in which oxygen can get to your lungs. It would maintain an open airway so that oxygen can get to your lungs. And the other thing that it does is it protects against aspiration. In two very notable cases of Anna Nicole Smith and the famous actor Heath Ledger, aspiration may have been a cause of their death. What is aspiration? That is when you vomit. If you're lying flat on your back and you vomit, the vomit then goes down into your lungs and suffocates you. It's very hard to remove vomit from your lungs, and most people fail to survive that. So this is an airway when a person is unconscious and unable to protect their airway. This breathing tube will keep it open and protect your airway from aspiration. This is a plain oxygen mask. This is placed over your mouth to give you supplemental oxygen. There are other masks, and this is only used when you're aware enough to protect your own airway, if you're conscious enough to protect your own airway. There are other masks that have a cushion around them and are pressed against the face, and you can also obtain ventilation through them. They're pressurized masks, and they can assist you with ventilation and oxygenation and help keep you alive. Finally, I want to introduce what is called an LMA. And the LMA is a combination of a mask and an endotracheal tube. But technically, it is still a mask. So what I would urge many emergency physicians to consider is to start utilizing these more in cases where there is controversy over end-of-life issues. And this is very comfortable for elderly patients that are unconscious, and any person who's unconscious that in the age range that can accept them. And it also helps protect almost as securely as the endotracheal tube. This way you could have the option of having your family come in, be with you if you had just a pure respiratory difficulty that threatened your life. As we've seen, that is the A of survival in airway. When you sign an advanced directive, make conscious decisions, make specific decisions. What are tubes? What are your tubes options? Review them in detail with your doctors and your caregivers and your family. Review your options and choose carefully, and have a beautiful journey. Thank you very much, and you can find more information at the following locations.